In this video, we will pick up on the texturing process. In the previous video, we worked on creating this kind of grungy looking cannon that has plenty of rust and stuff like that. So in this video, we are going to be creating the wooden texture for this wagon portion. And then we may even paint on a few additional items as well. So what I'm going to do here is go to my wood texture list, and I can actually, in this case, I'm going to just click the eyeball to hide the metal, which is my my cannon portion. So all I can now see is the wagon. Alright, so what we can do here is we can go to materials, or we can also go to smart materials, and we can find a perhaps a wood ship might be maybe make most sense to be a good start. So let's check this out. This might work. I don't know if I like this or not. Let's check out a few other ones. So we have the wood chestnut. This one looks a little bit better in my opinion. Actually, I think this one looks the best. I personally like how this piece looks. But before we even decide on one for sure, let's go ahead and check out the other ones. And then we have another wood ship one. This one's not bad. I think that I personally like the previous wood one we did. So I'm gonna go with this. And you can do whatever one you want. So again, this is the 80-20 rule. No, in the pipeline, you want to make sure you develop a pipeline that is quick and efficient. So what I could do if I wanted to, I could actually make this complete from scratch. But if in a working studio, you don't need to make it all from scratch. But I do want to come in here. I might want to mess with the wood, perhaps. Maybe I want it to be a little more cherry. So I might push this red down to the hair. Maybe push in a little bit. Might be a little too much. So maybe something like this. Okay, so it's just a hair bit or a little bit more red involved in there. Okay, I can mess with the dirt level, kind of the stains you see in the wood. I can mess the contrast there. So these are the kinds of things that you're going to be wanting to tinker with in order to get that look. The wood fibers, as you see here, we have it so it's cut in just a little bit. Maybe we want it to be this color here, but just a hair darker, and maybe saturate just a bit. Let's even shift the color a little bit towards the reds. That looks pretty good. You can see we have the wood veins here, and actually I think that's pretty good. But I might want to mess with the mask a little bit. Just to maybe populate the veins just a little bit more. That might be a little too much. So let's see. So I'm doing here, I'm just kind of messing with the kind of that thick wood grain that we see here. Now I might want to, in fact, move this so it's not as deep. And there you go. And then we have the dirt. So the dirt is a grunge map. We can make it have more dirt on it, less dirt. It's really kind of up to the artist, or maybe even the references you may have. And as I'm looking at this, might be a little bit too red for me, so I'm going to go ahead and shift this back to maybe more of a yellow or orange. I think that's pretty good. I'm going to shift this back as well. And I'm going to drop that saturation, or the hue bit, and up the saturation, maybe even shift the color slightly. There you go. So I'm going to show the metal and see if they kind of match. This kind of has the equal amount of distortion level to it. Now something you may notice is and this is a really common mistake for beginning artists, is our grain is not very consistent. So for example, here we see it's going from left to right. As I think that's perfectly fine going from left to right. But the issue I have with this is on the opposite side. You see now this grain is going from top to bottom, and that's not what we want. We want this to also be going from left to right. So what we can do is there's a few things we can do here. Number one, we could get this all figured out before we actually move it to the texturing software. So make sure the UVs are all facing the same direction. Now the issue with that is sometimes when you do that, you sacrifice space. So the other option in this case we can do is we can take this this material here and we can just duplicate it. And then what we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and hide this other material. And I need to now rotate all the wood veins. The wood, actually it's the mask I will need to rotate. So I rotate this. So basically anything that has that pattern will need to be rotated. Okay. And so now this all should be going the opposite direction. And what I can do from here is I can add a black mask onto my my copied version. And I'm just going to go to my UV chunk fill. And anywhere that I want to go the opposite direction, I'm going to go ahead and make that white. All right, so that looks good there. I might want to rotate the lights, just make sure I get everything. All right, that looks good. These sides look good there. The wheels seem to be going the correct direction. So we might, oh, here you go. This wheel happens to be going the wrong direction. So I'm going to go ahead and make that wheel white. Now I'll go the right direction. Let's see back here. Oops. This is going the wrong direction. So by clicking that, making it white, it will now go the correct direction. Let's see if there's anything else. I think this should be going long ways. So, oh, actually no, those are both going the correct direction. I think we're good there. So as you see here, the wood grain could be probably the opposite way. So let's see, there you go. Now that's going the correct direction. This one too needs to be going there. That's the right way. And let's take a look at the bottom. If that all looks good, everything there looks like it appears to be on the right way. Now there will be instances where you just simply won't be able to fix it because you know, just simply it's just that there's you have to make a choice between which way it goes. So for example, this one here wrapped all the way around. So if I were to click it, make it go one direction, then it'll be wrong on certain parts of it. So in that case, just pick a side. So maybe I pick that, but then like I said, this side will be wrong, but that's perfectly fine. So now we have all the wood grain going the right ways. We look good there. And if I want to, I can come in here and I can add in some, maybe I want to add in a little bit more detail here. So I don't know, let's say if I want to go in and see if I can find some materials. I don't know if there's any kind of, let's see if there's anything that I can add here. Maybe what I want to do is add something kind of like, we'll say, like salt. So let's say we're on the ocean, there's a lot of salt water kind of crusting onto, you know, like when you're driving your car and you see that kind of, during the winter, all that salt gets crusted on there. Let's go ahead and make something like that kind of towards the bottom. So I'm going to start off with the concrete here. I'm going to put that right on top of everything. And so now you see we have that concrete on top of it. And I'm going to go ahead and mess the colors just a hair for the concrete. Let's make this kind of a little bit more greenish. And kind of give it you know, a sea-like color. A little much. There you go. The height's fine. Oops. So it's something kind of like that's fine. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a black mask on there. And in this case, I'm just gonna go ahead and hand paint it because I think it is sometimes nice to hand paint or things in there. So I'm gonna make sure my opacity is nice and high. I don't need this. I'm gonna go with my brushes and pick a nice brush for this. So maybe I want something kind of let's see if we find a really good brush for this. Maybe like a moss brush might be something we can look into. This is leather. The mold might be good. So I'm gonna go ahead and use a mold brush. And I want to make this a little bit smaller and make sure my opacity is nice and big. And so this will be an instance where you're gonna want to, where it's actually better to use a tablet. But anyway, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna try and paint these edges a little bit wherever I want this mold, or this kind of this salty corrosion coming in. You know, so it's gonna help give your piece just a little bit more character, a little bit more life than if you're just drag and drop material. So I'm assuming that there's a lot of this salt hitting the corners, the bottom, you know, where it's gonna be mostly touched. You know, the wheels will probably be all kinds of crusted. So I'm gonna throw some salt, especially towards the bottom of the wheels, because we'll assume that it's been kind of just sitting there, just soaking up all that salt from the sea, and not rolling around a whole lot. So this would be, you know, one of those situations where we're kind of telling a story with our texturing. So that's what we need to do in this case. So I'm going to speed up the video here, and once I'm done, I will resume that video. Okay, so you know, I don't have a tablet right now, so therefore I'm going to actually call this one a little bit short. I think that I could definitely do a lot more detail to it, a lot more, you know, this kind of added detail, painted in detail. But just keep this nice and quick. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and stop it where it is. You guys get the point here. But what I can also do, because I use a mask here, I can actually come back through. And let's say if later I'm like, ooh man, that's a little bit too bright. I can maybe drop down the saturation, the luminosity a little bit, and I can make those adjustments. You know, maybe I want to be a little more subtle, so I drop that down. I can mess the bump intensity. And of course, I can always mess the hue a little bit too. So these are all things I can change. So let's say if you present to the client's like, "Ooh, yeah, that's a little bit much. Let's go ahead and dial that back." You know, you want to make sure that you're making a process in which you can edit it quickly and not have to sacrifice a whole lot of time. Because keep in mind, time ultimately is a really big factor when it comes to texturing in a business pipeline. So what we have here is we have our Canon. I mean, I definitely think that we can add some more items to it. I might go ahead and I'm gonna add in one more thing here I think will help, and that's the wood. I'm gonna actually separate this piece here across with some wood beam like thing. So I'm gonna make a new fill layer. I'm just gonna call this wood slats. And what I want to do is I want to turn off everything except for my height and my color. The color, I just want to make this pretty dark, so maybe something kind of like a nice deep orange, really dark would be pretty good. Maybe even throw a hair of maroon in there, might be better instead. Okay, and then I want to put the height. I want this to go into, So I'm gonna put the height at maybe something like negative 0.1. Maybe I can go negative 0.2, might be better. I'm gonna again add a black mask, and now wherever I draw, I'm going to just go to my brushes and find just a basic brush. So basic card's fine. And wherever I draw, it's going to dig in a little bit. So actually, I might want to make this a little bit deeper. And for now, I'm just going to go really intense, and then we'll dial it back. So here you can see it's really deep. And what I want to do is I want to scroll in nice and tight to my UVs on my 2D version. And I'm going to go to the brush, do a small brush like 0.5 for now. And I just want to click and then hold shift, and I can then make a straight line. And do it both directions. There you go. I'm going to do that for each one of these. But so now I have the wood grains drawn in there. I can now go back. Maybe I'll dial this up a little bit. Something a little more subtle. I can also adjust the height to be a little bit less dramatic. So that looks a little better. Now you have this illusion, if you want to call it, or it at least looks like it has separate boards. In reality, it's just one big plane. So with that being said, I think that we're ready to move forward. Now you can of course go through here. You can add some metal studs along there by just simply. Actually, I might just go through real quickly. I'm gonna find a material. I might go with maybe I choose something like steel. We'll call it steel rough. That might be a little weird. I'm not quite crazy about that one. There, this one's pretty good. So I'm just going to use this cobalt damaged and go to add black mask. And what I can do here is I can go back. Let's see. I can go with 2D3, and maybe wherever I want to. I'm gonna paint this black mask. Do a little bit of a bigger, maybe something like 3 for my, yeah. And so where I want to, I can paint that steel. But what I want to do is I want to actually make that bump a lot higher. So I go to base metal, I can go height. I'm gonna bump this height all the way up, so that way I can now go back to my black mask, and it should poke out like it does there. Maybe I want this even a little bigger. So this would be an option if you want to. You can add in these bolts, and of course I would recommend painting them in 2D, where you can actually really dial in where they go. So maybe something like here, here might look a little nicer than what I just did. Oh, I put those on the wrong side. Let's see. Where is that one? There it is. Alright, so maybe something like put it here, put one here, put one here, and one here. So that might be an option if you want to. You know, you could also just even come through here and let's see where that one is. Maybe you come through here and just paint a single steel stripe across it. Might be something you want to do. So these are all good options. You know, if you want to add a little bit more to your textures. So something like this might be a really good wheel. You know, and you can do that. You can even go as far as painting the rod there completely steel. You know, yeah. So something like that might be what you want to do. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. I'm not going to worry about it because you know we're going to be running out of time. And in the next video, we are going to discuss how to take this, export it, the materials out, and then how to kind of combine everything we've created into Unity and the final process of getting a package built out of Unity.